Hello Pisces and welcome to your reading. This is Bright Soul Collective Tarot. My name is Laura and these will be your intuitive insights and advice for the month of September 2022. This reading will be for Pisces Sun, Moon, and Rising, and by all means, if you're feeling curious, you can check out any of the readings that apply to you, as each one may resonate for you differently. And as always, before we get started, do keep in mind these readings are general in nature. They're meant to apply to a more broad collective of individuals, and that means that not necessarily all of the details that come through will make sense for you. I highly do recommend you take anything and everything that does resonate for you, however that connects to your personal circumstances, whatever that evokes within you. Keep an open mind to anything that might be helpful, and you can simply leave the rest. So Pisces, I hope you're doing well. I hope August was good to you and that you've been having a wonderful summer. I can't believe we're moving into September already. That is just wild to me, but I'm so excited to be here with you today. I'm very excited to get into your reading and to see what September has in store, and I'm happy to have you here with me sharing this time and space, so thank you for being here. So we've got your oracle cards here. We are going to do a full tarot read. Once the tarot cards are out of the way, I'll take a moment to share with you the channeled messages that I took some time to sit down and connect with before getting your cards out. And we will finish off the reading with a couple of affirmations and one final oracle message to serve as kind of like additional insight and advice to help you move into and through the month of September. So before we hop into your cards, I will take a moment to share with you the channeled energetic impression. So this was kind of the energy, the impressions that I was picking up on as I was preparing for your reading, setting intentions and shuffling your cards. So the thing that came through first and most strongly was kind of a sense of something being easier or happening more quickly than expected or than usual. So it's kind of like, it's almost like being in the flow. So sometimes when you're in the flow or you're not actively like working really hard and resisting what's going on, how even the most monotonous or like potentially unenjoyable things can happen more quickly and easily than they would otherwise. So it's almost like recognizing that just because something isn't super exciting doesn't mean that it has to drag, right? So a lot of the times it's like our internal resistance to whatever we're doing or our thoughts about what we're doing that can sometimes make things difficult. And I just got a sense of things flowing a little bit more smoothly, maybe more smoothly than usual, maybe feeling as though it requires less effort or it's happening more quickly. And it's almost like that sense of being surprised, like, wow, that was way easier than I thought it was going to be, or, you know, that happened way more quickly than expected, or it's like, oh, wow, you know, a long drive and it's like, wow, I can't believe we're already here. So I really liked that. So it's kind of like getting into the flow, even if it's something that's unexcited, and recognizing that when you kind of just let things flow, things seem a little bit easier, and you might be surprised how much less effort they seem to take. So that was kind of like a nice I don't know, maybe break from the usual. And then I also got the sense of the fact that there might be quick movement without a lot of perceived effort. That kind of goes hand in hand. So it could be that you're finding things are moving forward or you're accomplishing things. Even if it would potentially be something that requires a lot of effort and awareness and intention, it's like you might be finding that things are just moving a little bit more quickly for you when you're able to get into that flow, and that you don't need to expend as much effort as maybe you think when you take a moment to plan, right? And so sometimes that can be the detriment of being logical or analytical and trying to plan things out, is that sometimes we kind of project ourselves into the future and we don't necessarily know what's going to happen or how things will unfold, but sometimes we can commit ourselves to an expectation that things are going to be worse or more difficult or less enjoyable than we want them to be. And sometimes in thinking about that and making that decision, that actually becomes true. Whereas when we're able to kind of just stay out of our thoughts, out of analysis, step into a situation and experience it and move through it in a state of flow, we can handle things as they come, and we don't commit ourselves to a narrative or an unfolding of things that doesn't necessarily represent the best way forward, right? If that, I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. And so, and I also got with all of this a sense of, you know, alignment. Alignment was kind of like a big word that was popping into my head, and kind of just feeling like the pieces are falling into place. So there might be a lot of alignment. There might be a lot of synchronicity, things being easier, you getting in the flow. And as a result of you being in the flow, it's kind of like seeing things happen, seeing things fall into place, everything kind of coming together. And I got the sense that that might help things feel a little bit lighter. It might help you connect with a little bit more hope and enthusiasm. It might be kind of like a ray of sunshine, especially if things have been feeling like a bit of a struggle, or there's been some question as to how things are going to progress for you. So I got the sense that this could be kind of like a nice blessing for you this month. And the beautiful thing that goes along with that is almost seeing a renewed world of opportunity and possibilities. And it's kind of like your sense of limitation may be decreasing, or the perceived limitations and structures that would prevent things from moving forward prevent things from moving forward quickly seem to kind of drop away. And the other thing is I got the sense that this could be literal in terms of communication from other people, like at work or friendships, family, whatever the case may be. Or it could be if you are spiritual, if you are tuned in, if you do kind of pay attention to your inner guidance, your intuition, messages, signs and synchronicities, like communication from spirit, that you might have a lot of communication coming in. You might have a lot of messages coming in. So like I said, it could be a lot of phone calls, text messages, emails. There might be a lot of information coming at you, a lot of people to talk to, information to sift through and to do things with or to respond to. Or it could just be, you know, on a spiritual level, like having a lot of messages coming in, a lot of clarity, a lot of detail. There might be a lot of information that you're being asked to work with, perspectives that you're being asked to kind of consider from a spiritual perspective. And I got the sense that there might be so much coming through that it's kind of inundating. And it might be difficult to manage and to maintain your focus on like what you're doing. Or it's like you get one message, or you come to one realization, or you're in the middle of handling a conversation or a topic with one person, and then it's like something else is vying for your attention, and you're trying to figure out like, what do I do with that? How do I respond to this? And then it's like another thing. And it's easy to lose your place, even when it comes to things that you need to do for yourself, like outside of communication. So it might just be a matter of setting boundaries, trying to find a way to manage and organize all the information or all of the communication that's coming to you, whether it's like just jotting things down, making a note, or writing a list, like having something that you can come back to. But yeah, and I didn't get the sense that it was anything negative. It felt very expansive. It was just kind of fast moving, and it's like it can be it's like a fast moving river, right? Like it's easy to get swept away. So that might be something to keep in mind if you do find that there's like either a lot of communication, or there's a lot of information coming to you, new perspectives, realizations, that kind of stuff. So even if it is on like a personal or spiritual development level, it can still be overwhelming. And if we have our attention going in like 10 different directions at once, it can be really difficult to integrate any one of those things, right? So one step at a time, right? You're not a super person, right? You don't have to be on top of everything all the time. Yeah, so I think if that's the case, it's just a matter of keeping yourself grounded and centered, whatever you need to do to kind of manage everything that's coming to you. But I get the sense that it's all within your ability, just something to be aware of. So your oracle cards for this month, your first one is Shock of the New. And your second is Star Brothers. And so it says Horus energy, protection, loyalty, safety, and trust. First and foremost, I was so excited to see this card come out. I decided to keep my sunflowers for the Virgo reading because, you know, sunflowers are like late summer, early fall, and I wasn't ready to put them away. In my first reading for Virgo, an oracle card with a sunflower came out, and I was like, that's good validation that they are meant to stay out. So we've got sunflowers here, so that's another nice little tidbit. So with these two cards together, there could be a major shift, either a major shift happening in your life, something that is kind of out of your control and you're being required to step into, or it could be something more internal that's kind of bubbling up from under the surface, that's kind of demanding your attention and asking you to make a change in the way that you are showing up in the world, in the way that you're expressing yourself. And this could manifest in any different way. This is kind of like a creative energy, right? It's how, we're all unique, we're all different, we all have different skills and perspectives. And it's that unique kind of approach and that authenticity that gives us our own kind of, it's like our own kind of stamp, right, to put on the world around us. And the thing is that because we live in a society where, there are kind of like conventional standards of beauty and, success and love and relationships and, what is respected and acceptable and what isn't, it can be challenging not only to recognize our unique and strange beauty, but also to feel comfortable embodying that, accepting it, and expressing that outwardly, and in recognition that that is something that is, a unique gift that we have been given, and something that we can use to kind of positively impact our own experience and that of others. And so it's kind of like that unique, strange, potentially even like shocking, bizarre beauty, perspective, skill, artwork, whatever it is, something that's kind of out of the ordinary, is kind of intensely underrated, right? And I think that a lot of people kind of dismiss or cover up those parts of themselves for fear of being rejected, for fear of being seen as different or being judged, and kind of like stepping outside of those conventional norms and not knowing if it's going to be well received or not. And the interesting thing with this card coming up is, like, I think that you're being asked to, or at the very least, you're being given an opportunity to step into something new. And that something new may be completely shocking to you, right? It might be completely out of the norm, completely out of character. It might be something that totally shocks, like either an area of interest or a career, a creative endeavor, perhaps you just being more of yourself, sharing more of your authentic self. And it might seem like a massive departure from where you have been or how you have been doing things, or even just the way that other people perceive you. Not to say that if it's shocking, it's not to say that it's negative, it's just outside of the norm. And for that reason, it can be difficult. It can be difficult to accept and embrace it. And it can be difficult to feel confident putting that out there, sharing that with people, and trusting that that is going to impact your experiences in a way that will ultimately contribute to, your soul's growth. And so, yeah, it could be some form of creative expression, like music or art. It could be something spiritual in nature, like something related to healing, psychic awareness, because this is just anything that's different, right? Anything that's unique, eccentric, bizarre. And it may be something that you already have a connection to, or you're already kind of aware of. You may have already kind of felt these like rumblings, or, this bubbling up under the surface, like there's kind of a change on the horizon. You're being asked to kind of connect with something that's really, really different. Something potentially shocking and out of the norm is asking or longing to be birthed or created by you. And it might be exciting to consider. It might be discouraging. There might be some fear associated with it. So if you are aware of it, it's kind of validation or confirmation that is something that's being encouraged. It is coming up to be incorporated. Whether it's liberating or it feels challenging to you, that this is kind of part of you stepping further into your own light, I would say. And if it's not something that you are aware of, and if it's not something that you have yet sensed, it's kind of like, whether you have recognized it or not, it's there, it's rumbling under the surface and it's calling to you. And so it's basically saying to pay attention to anything that's like kind of shocking, very different, out of the norm, maybe something that you would never normally be interested in, something that you would never normally see yourself doing or experiencing or feeling called to, right? Something that is maybe strangely beautiful, maybe very bizarre, maybe eccentric. I can't tell you what that is, because that is going to be something that's very unique to you and your experience. But I can say it's likely to be something that will either challenge the existing conventions or standards, of success or beauty or, abundance or whatever the case may be, or like inspire an expansion of how we measure that, right? So it's like you could have, for example, art and music, it might be kind of bizarre. It might be really eccentric. It might be really unique to you. And it might be so far out of the norm that people may shut down and be like, wow, that's just too weird. There's no value in that. But the fact is that if there's something that's longing to be created that's unique to you, it's longing to be heard, it's longing to be received. And if we don't express those unique aspects, those unique forms of beauty, of creativity, then there's no opportunity for them to ever be considered valuable, right? If everybody is hiding away all of their, beautiful, unique eccentricities, then all that does is keep us in a place where we kind of have to be lemmings, like people who are trying to live the same life and play by the same rules and are confined to the same box, right? Everybody's trying to, have the same job and move up the corporate ladder and have the same house and have the same car, have the kids, and like there's kind of like this limitation, and not that there's anything wrong with any of those things, but it's like sometimes we can become so entwined in playing within those kind of limitations, meeting those expectations, ensuring that we are acceptable by these kind of norms, that we can kind of dampen our soul, right? So our soul is calling to us to kind of fulfill our individuality, to show up authentically and to share what we have to say or what we have to do or what we have to create in our own unique way, and to trust that there's beauty and value in that. And so the more that we commit ourselves to following a certain standard or meeting certain expectations that aren't necessarily representative of how we feel and what we truly want for ourselves, we can kind of shut off from the things that are calling to us. And so perhaps you have been, right? Perhaps you have been aware of your eccentricities, and you've either been made to feel shamed or guilty about them, as though it's not an acceptable way to express yourself, or there's no value in it, by other people. Perhaps there's a fear of being vulnerable and expressing yourself in that way, because there may be the chance that you'll be judged or rejected. So it could be something already that you have been suppressing as a result of just trying to be accepted. And that is a very difficult position to be in. Like there's a lot, it can have to do with, generational trauma, things that have been passed down, the expectations that have been set for us, things that were said to us as we were developing that made us feel like it's not safe to be who we are, and to share our unique gifts and perspectives. So yeah, it might be something that you've been feeling guilty and shameful about, something that you've been trying to hide or push down, or that you've been made to feel as though you have to. And I get the sense that this month, it's like the book continuously says like rumbling. And so it's almost like, it gave me the sense of like, you know, before a volcanic eruption, how there's that rumbling, there's stuff going on under the surface, and there's that pressure that's building, and then eventually there's this massive explosion, right? And there's transformation, and there can be destruction, right? Like, you know, it might rock the boat, it might upset people, it might change your relationships, but it's kind of like, I get the sense that this change and this new thing that is asking to be connected with or accepted or birthed, it has everything to do with who you are and the gifts that you have to share. And it's kind of like, even if it's something that you're trying to avoid, it's like, this is longing, right? It's kind of, I almost get a sense of like, it may be inevitable, right? Eventually at some point you're going to reach the point where you realize that it's not serving you to dim your own light and to hide these things, or to limit yourself from connecting to things that are potentially bizarre and out of the ordinary that you might benefit from and that might help you along your path and benefit others as a result, right? So it's just like, you know, claiming it, allowing yourself to claim it, and trusting that there's something to be benefited from there, right? So it's a very interesting energy for you guys. But the thing that I love is that for it to come up with this card of Star Brothers, protection, loyalty, safety, and trust, this talks about the ways that we don't feel safe. It talks about, you know, having trust issues. Trusting that people will be loyal and honest, you know, trusting that people will love you unconditionally. Trusting that you can show up in an authentic and vulnerable manner, and that people aren't going to take advantage of you or judge you or demean you or, you know, go behind your back and, you know, double cross you. So this has a lot to do with like fear of connection, fear of honesty, fear of loyalty. So there's like a sense of mistrust, and not to say that you're a cynical person, but because that's not what it's about. It's just saying like that it's natural, especially if we've had challenging experiences with other people, especially if we've had challenging dynamics at home or with our parents, if we weren't raised in an environment where we were able to experience that sense of trust and feeling protected, feeling safe to be who we are. It's saying that like that can stay with us for our entire life. And that fear of being able to trust other people interferes with our ability not only to collaborate, like, you know, in terms of creative endeavors or in the workplace or with friends and family, but also in romantic relationships as well. And so it kind of leaves us guarded, right? It limits the depth of connection and meaning and experience that we can have, because if you always kind of have to have your guard up and you can't fully be yourself, or you don't feel like it's safe to be vulnerable and that you'll be received and held there, then you kind of isolate yourself in a way that it's like you have to be alone and you have to do everything for yourself. And there's a sense that like, oh, if, you know, I can only be myself for myself, and it's not safe to let anyone else see that, right? So there could be a lot of fear about connecting with something that might not be mainstream, that might not be conventional, about owning that and expressing that, even if you know that it could potentially be beneficial, even if you want to, you know, explore how that might impact your experiences, even if it's something that you've known about and you've kept hidden from other people for a long period of time, it likely has to do with some type of wound related to trust. Right? And so this is basically saying that you have a lot of protection, a lot of loyalty, a lot of love and support available to you. But the fact is, if you allow that wound to isolate you and to prevent you from putting yourself in a position where you can open up, then that is going to be a wound that limits you indefinitely. And so this is saying like it's safe to trust. And I wouldn't say like just trust anyone and everyone indiscriminately, but it's like, you know, there are people that you can trust. There are people in your corner. You know, there's support, there's love, there's resources available to you, but they're not going to come through, and you're not going to be able to benefit from them, and you're not going to be able to heal this unless you call that in. And not only call that in, but have a willingness to receive and to accept it, and to recognize that not only are you worthy of connections, you're worthy of receiving support, you're worthy of having, you know, safe and loyal, trusting connections with other people, but there are people that are looking for that same thing with you, right? And this is not just in the physical in terms of our interactions, and like the people around us that can help and support us, but this is also energetically, right? So it's like the help of spirit. So whatever you believe in, like ancestors, angels, spirit guides, like the universe, like however you want to, however you're comfortable relating to it. This is saying that you're also supported energetically, like beyond the world of the seen. So it's just important to be open to asking for that support and receiving that support. And you may very well find that if you can work through any discomfort that you have around that, especially in relation to, you know, the most eccentric, unusual, potentially strange parts of yourself, there's an opportunity for this worry, this fear, and this mistrust to be healed, right? For you to be proven wrong. And then, you know, the more that you have beneficial experiences, the more that you're going to be healing that. And it's really just going to positively impact you on all levels, I feel. And it's not to say that every single person that you try to connect with or that you trust is going to do things in a way that you're happy with, right? But it's like, this is kind of a complex part of navigating relationships. It's like finding your people, finding the people that support you. And, you know, if you show up authentically and you share your truth and someone doesn't receive you, it's not a result of your deficiency. It's not anything that's wrong with you, and it's not anything that's wrong with them. It's just highlighting to you that there isn't alignment there, that, you know, you might have thought that was your person and maybe they're not. And it's okay, because the sooner that you find that out, the sooner that you can kind of lovingly release that person and open up your energy to connecting with people who are more in alignment and who are able to support you in the ways that you need and deserve. And the fact is that, like, sometimes just coming to that recognition, or coming to recognize that, and removing yourself from those interactions that don't necessarily align, or those people that, you know, don't necessarily have your back, that sends a powerful message to the world that you're setting boundaries and that you know your worth. And people are ultimately attracted to that because you're putting out what you feel and believe on the inside to be true, which kind of like sends a signal to all of the people who resonate with that, right? So it's like, it may be difficult to step away from the relationships or the interactions that aren't serving you, but ultimately it just opens up space for you to draw in people or relationships or support that's more aligned, that is going to help you continue healing this, because you also need this safety net, you need this support, you need this trust, you need this kind of mutual respect and loyalty in order to really be able to own yourself and to share whatever you have. And the other beautiful thing that I will say before I move into your tarot is that this card, there's a part in the guidebook that basically says that, you know, like, nature doesn't judge beauty or value in like conventional ways. So it's like, you think about nature, plants and animals and insects, and like, there is an immense amount of strange beauty. And that is like the creative beauty of nature, of the universe, is that, you know, not everything is the same. Not everything fits, you know, within a certain box or a mold. And it's like, there are so many strange and beautiful creatures. So there's no discrimination in nature, right? Against like what is beautiful and ideal and what isn't. That doesn't matter. And it's to recognize that you have been created by the same energy. So not only are you unique and, you know, beautiful in your own way, but you are also a creator in and of yourself. And you can be unique and beautiful in your strange eccentricities in ways that may shock people or be out of the norm. And you can create with that energy something that is really unique to you, right? So it's kind of like you have been impacted by this indiscriminate, power of creation and beauty, and you can use that to create, something that is kind of outside of the norm. And that's a really beautiful, like, we all have that ability because we're all unique in our own ways, but that's kind of like, it's a beautiful gift to have. And I think like seeing your eccentricities, anything that other people might shut down or think is like bizarre, it's like seeing them as gifts that are unique to you might be a more empowering way than feeling as though it's something that needs to be hidden. And anybody who makes you feel like the things that are like strange or unique about you, that is shameful, or anybody who reinforces that, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I don't necessarily think that that's helpful for you. So you might want to think about who those people are. You might want to think about how much sway, how much influence you allow them to have on your life. You might want to think about setting boundaries, but it's just like, if you're being asked to own it, there's a reason for that. There's something beautiful to come of that. And it doesn't serve you to limit yourself just for the sake of somebody else's comfort, right? Okay, so your first card for this month is the Ace of Wands. Let's see what else there is for you. I will also say, I love seeing the Ace of Wands come out because as I was preparing specifically your tarot decks, I was seeing a lot of wands. Like when I was cutting the deck, at the bottom of the deck, cards that were popping out, there was a lot of wands, and there was a huge amount of this like red, orange, yellow energy that it was just like, it seemed to be a theme. So I'm not really surprised to see this come up, especially in the strength position. Your second card this month is the Daughter of Swords, which is the Page of Swords. Sorry, I just dropped a whole pile of them. Your third card this month is the Son of Pentacles, which is the Knight of Pentacles, and your final card is Temperance. And we have the 10 of Wands at the beginning of, at the bottom of the deck. I was thinking beginning because we've got 10 of Wands is the ending, 1 of Wands, Ace of Wands is the new beginning, and they're in the same energy. So, okay, so we're going to clarify all of these tarot cards. Oops. I am super clumsy today. Okay, so we'll clarify the Ace of Wands first. Let's see what comes up. Okay, Ace of Wands is clarified by the Ace of Cups. Wow, you got two aces side by side. That's interesting. Okay, let's clarify the Page of Swords. Okay, Page of Swords is clarified by the King of Swords. Let's clarify the Knight of Pentacles. Oops. Thought one flipped over, but it didn't. Okay. Let's clarify the Knight of Pentacles. This deck is not behaving for me today. I'm having a very hard time shuffling. Son of Pentacles is, so the Knight of Pentacles is clarified by the Knight of Wands. And finally, we'll clarify Temperance. Temperance is clarified by the 5 of Pentacles. And at the bottom of the deck, we have the 5 of Cups. goodness. Okay, let me just take a moment to absorb all of this. Okay, so with the bottom of the deck showing up as the 10 of Wands and the 5 of Cups, this is the underlying energy that's influencing this progression. So it could be a past experience, a past energy, like reaching deep into the past, or more recently, or it could be something that is still kind of impacting you, something that's happened that's still kind of, that you're still working through as you move into this month. But this is like, I don't like to say it, but it is a heavy energy. There's a sense of feeling tired, worn out, overwhelmed, overburdened. And in addition to that, a little bit of sadness, potentially sadness, hopelessness, feeling lost. There could be a little bit of depression. There could be, and it doesn't have to be, but instead it could just be, disappointment, right? Being acutely aware of the things that haven't worked out, maybe the things that you longed for, the things that you were excited or hopeful about, that you were hoping were going to kind of be your ticket, right? In terms of like love and depth and connection and fulfillment. So I get this sense, like with this specifically coming together, that the 10 of Wands, 10s are about endings. But specifically with this, it's like this iteration of it is interesting because it's like there's just so much darkness, right? And that is often how we feel when we're in that 10 of Wands energy, because it's like, it's like an uphill battle carrying all sorts of weight. And it's like, it can be a long and drawn out process, like a long road to get to this point. And it's almost like you're carrying so much that you're either so burnt out that you can't go forward, you don't have any energy left, or the burden that you're carrying is so heavy that you can't possibly take another step. And so so this can be burnout mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and basically it's saying like, okay, like you've gotten to the point where you're so overworked or you're so overburdened that you don't have anything else to work with and you can't take another step forward. You deserve to keep moving forward. You deserve to allow this cycle to end and to move into this new Ace of Wands energy. But in order to do that, you have to take kind of stock of like, what is it that you're carrying, right? If you were hiking and your pack was so heavy that you couldn't move, you would know in whether you're going to continue along your hike or turn around. If you're going to move anywhere, you know that you have to lighten your load, and you would have to go through your pack and determine like, what is essential? What do you need? What do you want? What are you going to benefit from? What's going to serve you? And what is just extra weight? And that extra weight, it might be something that that you could see the value in, that could potentially be helpful to you, that isn't just entirely necessary. Or it could be stuff that's just taking up space and weight that you're carrying that maybe you didn't even realize is like there's no purpose. It's just extra stuff. It's junk that's weighing you down and you didn't even realize that it was there. And this weight, it can be expectations. It can be taking responsibility for other people. It can be doing more than your share of the work, right? So it could be that either you've said yes and you've taken on a workload that's too heavy, or maybe there are things that you have been doing that perhaps can be delegated to other people. So it's a willingness to delegate and make your life easier. And it can also be taking responsibility for other people and their like keeping them happy and taking care of them, in addition to yourself. And it's like you might think that you're helping them, but in essence, you're basically just kind of protecting them and keeping them in the place that they're in. Because if you are taking responsibility for someone else's issues or their growth or their happiness or their healing, by you doing it for them or trying to do it for them or trying to make it easier, you're just making it easy for them to stay where they are and to ignore it, because it's their work to do. And as much as we love people and want to support them, we can't do it for them. And so you might be kind of realizing that there's responsibility that you've taken on that either you can't follow through with, you can't fulfill any longer, or, you know, setting boundaries about like what is your responsibility, what you can reasonably accomplish with your resources, and the need to have resources left for yourself beyond just taking care of everything. And it might be difficult, right? Especially if you are a caregiver, especially if you have like tendencies to people please. It can be really difficult to contend with the emotional implications of feeling burnt out and not being able to be all things to all people, right? And feeling like you're at the end of your rope and you're not moving forward anymore. But the beautiful thing with this is like both of these cards is that it comes hand in hand with a sense of release, because when we're willing to accept our struggles, our disappointments, you know, the fact that we only have so much to work with and we have to be conscious about making our energy work for us so that we're not continuously depleting ourselves without, you know, filling our cup. So like this can be a focus on sadness and disappointment and like hopelessness and hurt and the things that, you know, we've experienced that are not really enjoyable or empowering. And it can also be like letting go of the heavy emotional experiences that have impacted us in difficult ways, potentially for long periods of time. You know, the need to be all things, all people, so we can have feelings about our inability to move forward. But yeah, there's definitely a sense of release. And also the one of the main things that comes up with this Five of Cups is like, you know, there's no use crying over spilled milk. If it's something that's happened, it's happened for a reason. Like you can't undo it, you know, and if it's done, right? You can't beat yourself up about it. You can't live in the past and think of all the ways that you could have avoided it or made it better, like all of the ways that you could have avoided coming here. It's like you're here for a reason, and you're being asked to be empowered and to make decisions that are ultimately going to be in your best interest and align with you. And so this darkness, because it's wands and it's related to your passion and your inspiration and creativity, this could also be the ways that you've dimmed your own light, or you've allowed other people to dim your light, the things and the expectations that you've taken on that have taken you away from the things that you feel most inspired by and the things that are most unique to you. And the beautiful thing is we've got this here in the underlying energy, and your strength is showing up as the Ace of Wands, which is this new beginning to connect with a new inspiration, maybe a new opportunity to express yourself in a creative manner, a new endeavor, a new job. However that makes sense to you, is basically like there is new energy, there's new inspiration, there's this new, and it could be even a reconnection to that inner light and that spark of inspiration that's within you, and a willingness to run with it, right? A willingness to explore that path and see where it may take you, especially because you're coming out of this dark energy. You're letting go of what is keeping you in darkness, what is hiding your light, and you're ready to own it and move forward. So this is a new beginning, and it's clarified by the Ace of Cups, which is also a new opportunity for love. So this could be self-love, you know, coming to a new level of love and kindness and compassion and understanding for yourself, and as a result being able to fill your own cup emotionally and to be able to offer more to others because you're taking care of yourself first. It can also be a new opportunity for love in relationships, so a renewed love in an existing relationship, a new person coming in, whether, you know, a friend or a soulmate or romantic relationship. But it's basically saying like the strength that's highlighted for you this month, the energy that's highlighted is all about new beginnings for creative expression, passion, inspiration to move you, the light that's within that is longing to be exposed, that's longing to impact others. It's here, and like it's fertile, right? There's flowering here on this wand. So it's basically like, you know, the time is now to move in that direction, and it's going hand in hand with a new opportunity for happiness, for love, for connection, for joy, for a sense of fulfillment. And this is also very deeply connected to our intuition and our subconscious, right? So it can also have to do with healing, right? So what I love about this is this says shock of the new, right? And aces are all about new. It's all about being at the beginning of a new journey, having finished out an old cycle, learned lessons, kind of upgrading, having skills and tools to take forward, and determining what is not going to serve you on your new path, and being willing to leave it behind and close that door so that you can fully step into this new energy. So I would say anything that shows up as an opportunity for you to connect with or investigate, like a chance to, yeah, sorry, this is really having a hard time getting this idea out. But yeah, so this is basically saying you might see opportunities for happiness, for excitement, for things that you're passionate about, things that you're interested in. You might see opportunities to connect with that, to investigate that, to experience that. And it's just like, even just the very first step of, you know, it doesn't have to be something major and life-changing. It could be just small and insignificant, or it could be major, but it's basically saying like those opportunities are showing up and they're resonating with you because you're being given the chance to move along this path, to step into a new energy. And really what that is up to you, because these are both really very much connected to you, your inspiration, who you are, your most authentic self. And so I kind of get the sense that there may be like a renewal of your sense of self, your self-concept, your willingness to just own who you are and to allow that to drive you forward instead of expectations of other people or conforming to conventions, right? So this could very well be this kind of shocking new thing, this shocking new energy that is asking to be accepted and is asking for you to kind of run with it. So I really like that. Be aware of anything that you're called to, especially anything that's new. And I would say like, allow yourself to investigate that, because it's showing up as a blessing for you this month. Your challenge for this month is showing up as the Daughter of Swords, so the Page of Swords, and the King of Swords. And so what I think is really interesting is like, I'm not even worried about Page and King so much as I am acknowledging like the swords coming up. So I get the sense that logic, analysis, like overthinking might be a struggle for you, especially if you have been worried about following a certain path or conforming to certain norms. Relying too heavily on logic and data and making like practical moves can kind of dampen not only our inspiration and disconnect us from our inspiration and the things that are kind of most authentic about us, but also like kind of our hopes and dreams for happiness and fulfillment, right? So the logical mind and our thought and our analysis is just another tool that we have to kind of understand the world, to understand ourselves, and to use to our benefit when we're making decisions. But it's not the be all end all, and we can kind of tie ourselves up in like a purgatory of overthinking. So we can run into like analysis paralysis, where something that we might feel inspired to step toward, we're trying to analyze in a logical, rational way, and we can't justify it. Or we can actively overanalyze and talk ourselves out of something that really is calling to us on like a heart and soul level. So that in and of itself could be a major challenge for you. And it might be something like a learned behavior. It might be part of you kind of like playing it safe, feeling like, maybe you can't trust people. Maybe you're not able to be vulnerable and to just show up as you are and trust that you'll be accepted and protected. But also it's recognizing that the whole point of like the journey of swords, it's all about recognizing that perception is reality, and what we believe ultimately becomes our reality. And just because we believe it doesn't mean that it's necessarily true, although our belief in it can make it true because that inspires our actions, which, then is reflected to us in our external environment. But it's about realizing that there can be truths in general, like external to us, and truths for other people, and there can be truths for ourselves. And so it's all about navigating and recognizing that our thoughts can reflect our fears and our limiting beliefs and the things that keep us stuck in an energy where we are not serving ourselves, we're not accepting ourselves, right? So it's like, just because we're thinking doesn't mean that what we're thinking is healthy or empowering or what's best for us, right? And the beautiful thing about the King of Swords is it's like having that experience, having gone through, realizing the power of the mind, realizing that if we're not careful about observing our thoughts and checking in with them and saying like, is this something that I really feel to be true, right? Or is this something that I picked up along the way? Is this something generationally that was handed down to me? Am I just conforming to this because other people say that it's right? But meanwhile, I'm betraying myself by participating in it. There's a journey to a certain level of awareness and stability that you can be firm and kind and fair and still live by your own truth, right? So the King of Swords is somebody who understands that, you know, as much as we appreciate the logical kind of brain, that not everything is black and white, right? And it's having that ability to, it's kind of like let bygones be bygones, like, you know, no, that's not the right term that I was looking for. It's like agree to disagree, right? So it's like, just because somebody isn't the same, they don't have the same beliefs, doesn't mean that you can't, you know, gracefully accept that and still respect that person, right? So it's kind of the acknowledgement of a vast number of different perspectives and personal truths, but a willingness to identify with and remain true to yours, and trusting that you can be fair and honest and true to yourself. You don't have to compromise your truth and what is most important to you to meet the expectations of others, and you don't have to expect that anyone else is going to do that for you. So there could be some struggle in terms of maybe accepting what is true for you. You may know what's true for you, but it may be difficult for you to take action, for you to communicate that, for you to demonstrate that to other people, in the decisions that you're making for yourself and the way that you're showing up. But the other thing is, like, he's on the mountaintop. So there is a certain amount of strength and clarity and vision that goes along with feeling firmly rooted in your personal truth, and your inner wisdom. And so it might just be that there's a lot of fear lingering, fear of judgment, fear of failure, limiting beliefs. And what I see is like there's a lot of opportunity available, and it's just that your thoughts about yourself, your thoughts about opportunities, and perhaps like things from your past, perhaps hurts, or like a feeling of not being safe or not being able to trust, might cause you to think your way out of all of these beautiful opportunities that are asking for you to connect with them, right? So that's showing up as your struggle, and or your challenge, and your advice for kind of moving through that energy is showing up as the Knight of Pentacles and the Knight of Wands. What I love about Knights is that they are forward moving energy, right? So it's not stagnant. It's kind of like, you know, you've got a mission, you've got a goal that you're trying to achieve, you're in the process of taking steps, and especially the Knight of Pentacles is a very stable, slow moving energy that's just one step at a time. And it's recognizing that even if what we ultimately want to do or want to connect with or want to manifest is something big and bold and meaningful, that, you know, it takes a certain amount of time and energy and focus, commitment and dedication to get there. And so this is like, you know, you're not at the end of your journey yet. You're still refining, you're still learning, you're still moving forward. And especially in this Knight of Pentacles energy, it's like, you know, this can be the really monotonous stuff. There's not necessarily anything majorly glamorous. There's not even necessarily a really palpable sense of, you know, forward movement or success, right? So it can feel like sometimes the energy is so slow moving and requires so much focus and effort that you may actually feel as though you're standing still or you're not making progress. And it's not until you take a moment to look back on where you started and everything you've achieved till now, if you can see beyond the step that you're in the process of taking, that you realize like, yes, I'm getting there, right? And so also this overthinking can have us give up on the work that we're putting in to see our manifestations come to fruition before we actually get there, because we underestimate our ability and we underestimate how much progress we've made. So this is recognizing that you might just be in a position where this is something that you just kind of have to be steadily working away at, trusting that you're putting in effort, trusting that you're growing, trusting that you're changing, trusting that you're on the right path and that things are materializing, whether it's obvious to you or not. And so especially if this comes in terms of your personal growth and development, your self-concept, it's like you're on a journey, right? And especially being on a journey, it's really important to take advantage of those new opportunities as they arise, because that opens us up to new perspectives, new experiences. It can put us into contact with different people that might be able to open our eyes to certain ideas or ways of doing things that are ultimately going to serve us, or who can provide us with resources that are going to help us kind of move more quickly toward our goal. So this is kind of just being able to stay focused and persevere in the most practical sense, and also recognize that this journey that you're on is yours. It's unique to you. It should be reflective of you and the things that are important to you, the things that you want to experience. This unique, light of yours, whether it's eccentric or unusual or conventional or not, that's your reason for doing it, right? And if you allow yourself to connect with that and to feel it and to recognize its value, allowing that to inspire you makes the work worth it, right? So why would you put all of this time and this effort into creating a version of your life that isn't for you, right? That's more concerned with other people or what they think, or, protecting yourself so that you are not exposing any of your authenticity for fear of being judged or rejected, right? Then that just means that you are limiting yourself out of fear, and all of this effort that you're putting in is not necessarily invested in your highest good, right? So this is about putting the work in, just continuing to move forward day by day, not overthinking it, and recognizing that every step you take, whether you realize it or not, is getting you closer to where you want to be. And that you deserve to celebrate yourself. You deserve to connect with the things that make you excited, the things that make you passionate, right? And you deserve to express yourself in an authentic and confident way, right? So she's kind of like dancing to the beat of her own drum. There's a certain amount of like wildness, like you can't be tamed, and you're not meant to be tamed. This is the light that is asking to be, shone, and she's not worried. She's not worried about what anyone else thinks. She's just in the moment enjoying herself. And I think that it is totally okay for you to give yourself permission to just be who you are. And even if it's not necessarily something that you're willing to share widely or to share with the public in like an obvious way, it's recognizing that first you have to give yourself permission to express that, to feel that, and to connect with that, just even on your own, in the comfort of your own home. Like, put on a song that you like and dance, right? It's about releasing judgment and allowing yourself to feel inspired and to express that, and trusting that that's kind of that's the fire in your heart that's lighting your way, and also making all of the hard work and the tangible effort and steps that you are taking to reach your end goal, whatever that may be. It makes it worth it, right? It's like infusing yourself into what you're doing instead of just like all work and no play kind of thing. Especially if you're hard on yourself, I would say. It's easy to reduce ourselves to just, our work or our money or our material goods or our body and our looks, but like there's so much more than that inside that's longing to be expressed outwardly. So that's what I will say. That's your advice for working through this highly like analytical, mental kind of energy that's here as your block. And finally, your last bit of advice and what you need to know overall for the month is showing up as Temperance and the 5 of Pentacles. So Temperance is all about balance, right? It's recognizing that when we regard anything that exists like in terms of extremes, like one end of the spectrum or the other. So it's like here we've got water and fire. You could consider like happiness and sadness, darkness and light, positive and negative, you know, any way that you want to kind of define those types of opposites. And it's recognizing that, you know, we may have periods of time where we are in like are more to one edge of the scale than the other, but ultimately we are here to learn and to grow, and to come further into balance, to recognize the things that are out of balance, to have those experiences, and to kind of slowly keep correcting ourselves. And we're never going to be completely imbalanced. There's not a perfect, it's not possible, right? Even our body, which is, you know, uniquely intelligent, is always trying to maintain homeostasis, and it's always kind of correcting based on what is happening, right? And so it's like the same thing with us in terms of our mental state, our emotional state, being able to navigate experiences and relationships. And this is basically just saying that, you know, balance can be a really beautiful thing, because just because things are completely opposite does not mean that they cannot work in harmony, right? So fire and water are opposites, and if you look at it, water can threaten fire and put it out, right? So it's like our emotion, and we've got water and fire here, our emotions can get the best of us and cause us to spiral in a negative direction that might put out our light or dampen our light and the things that inspire us. But if we, and actually, I love that this is showing up as what you need to know, because it's like the balance of your passion, your creativity, your inspiration, and this light that you have to shine, your authentic self, and your emotions, how you feel about yourself, how you love yourself and others. And it's like if you can find a way to balance those out, they can work together beautifully, because this is basically saying if you temper fire and water in just the right way, you can create a beautiful rainbow, right? We think about like, you know, like the water evaporates and the light catching that steam or that liquid that is evaporated is what creates a rainbow. It refracts all the light, right? So it's basically recognizing that is longing to be balanced out. And because we've got wands and cups, but the Five of Pentacles is showing up here, the Five of Pentacles is often regarded as the poverty card, right? So feeling as though you are lacking abundance, you don't have the resources that you need to be successful, or, you know, so this could be in relation to your job, your finances, your savings, your material abundance and stability, your health and your body, anything in the world of material abundance. And it's kind of feeling like, yeah, left out in the cold. Like there's something blocking you from being successful. There's something blocking you from being abundant. You don't have enough to live a joyful and comfortable life. And this also has to do with your belief, right? Because you see here that the key to this door, to abundance, to pentacles, right? To more pentacles is here. But, you know, either she is so exhausted and worn down and sad because of the struggle that she's had and the fear that she's had of not being able to be successful or to have enough, that she's kind of she's not looking for opportunities to connect with abundance, or she's not ready to receive it, right? So she's kind of feeling down and out. But, you know, if and when she takes the opportunity to regroup and to look around her and to kind of be ready to take the next step, the key is here, right? So whatever you need in terms of like something tangible, something that you're trying to manifest, you know, abundance and stability in the material, it's making sure that as you are trying to connect, because this could also be like entrepreneurial in nature, this could have to do with career and money, I'm just saying. So it's important to make sure that as you are moving through life and as you are allowing yourself to connect with something that has the potential to be more fulfilling, and more authentic to you and what you want to connect with in your life, it's important to make sure that you're not coming from a lack mindset and that you're not being inspired by fear, right? Because fear often causes us to put limitations on ourselves or to box ourselves in under the assumption that we can't be successful, or it's not going to work, or, you know, we're not going to connect with abundance, or perhaps we'll lose whatever we do have, and we already don't feel like we have enough. And it's recognizing that if that's what you're experiencing and that's what's motivating you to take steps forward, unfortunately, that can be reflected back to us in terms of things not working out, or there can be loss, or there can be difficulties in the material, or at the very least, it could be just serving as a block to the progress that you're trying to make. And so you may have to balance out specifically any fears or worries or anxieties or limitations around your connection to what you consider to be success and abundance and stability in the material world, your connection to money and finances and what is possible. Yeah, there's something there specifically that you might have to balance out. And I would say it probably has something to do with this new opportunity that's coming in, or that's asking to be connected to it, that could be something very unique and maybe shocking and out of the norm, as opposed to like where you have been and how you have been doing things. Because this is saying like, you know, the old is on its way out and you are being kind of coerced or invited or dragged into something new. So it's like you might as well just jump into it and allow yourself to go. So the things that were hanging over you in the past that didn't serve you certainly aren't going to serve you moving forward. But also, like, even the things that did work for you, even if this mindset did work for you, it's saying like you're being asked to let that go, because the things that worked for you in the past, you know, they're done. The door is closed, and it's time to move into something new. And you don't want to be even subconsciously sabotaging yourself and preventing yourself from connecting to this beautiful opportunity that has the chance to be, you know, potentially more aligned. So there is a lot of opportunity for you to do something that's going to be really wonderful, regardless of how large or small in scale. That's going to be unique to you. But I love this progression for you guys. So I'm going to take a moment. I'm sorry this reading is so long. They've been super long this month. I will share with you the channeled messages that I connected with before I got your cards out, and then we'll get you a couple of affirmations and a final oracle message to tie everything together as some final advice. Okay, so your first channeled message was like forest walks or forest bathing, and it wasn't a concept, it was actually an image. So I had the image of someone walking through this like big, expansive forest of like mature trees. And so it's like, you know, it's beautiful. And there was like a soft light filtering through the branches. There was like a soft breeze. There's like the chirping of birds and like the rustling of, you know, like animals and leaves and stuff like that. And so it doesn't have to be that setting in particular. I would say like any way that you can connect with or get out into nature, especially if you feel drawn to nature, especially if that's a really important part of you feeling grounded. I would say every opportunity you get, make sure that you're prioritizing that, whether it's something that you can do at home or in your neighborhood, or it's like making a point of getting out and into nature, even if you have to take a drive. Just that could be something that's really beneficial, especially if you're trying to heal and disconnect from limitation, especially if you're trying to connect more deeply with yourself, and especially if you've got a lot of thoughts going on that might be kind of interfering with your forward movement. That could be really important for you, because it doesn't matter what setting you're in as long as you're present, right? And that's the sense that I got, is that being in nature and taking it all in, every single little detail, it's like a beautiful sensory experience. It can be really rejuvenating. It can be really relaxing. It can calm your nervous system. And it can kind of like, yeah, it brings us back to nature, not only nature in a physical sense, but our own true nature, because we are part of nature and we feel disconnected from it because of how advanced we've become, you know, in terms of the, you know, developed society that we're living in. And so it's like, it's good to get back to nature, and that will bring you home to yourself as well in some ways. I got the sense. The next message that came through was forgiving yourself. So yeah, forgiving yourself for mistakes, any guilt or shame or judgment that you're holding on to or that's hanging over you. But specifically what came through was forgiving yourself for your reactivity. So anything that you react to negatively, you know, it could be something that triggers you, where you get angry or frustrated or upset. You may conduct yourself in a way that isn't necessarily in alignment with your best self, or and you may judge yourself for that. And I think it's just being willing to extend that understanding and forgiveness and compassion to yourself, recognizing that reactivity is just a symptom of a wound. And if it's coming up for our attention because it's longing to be acknowledged, accepted, and healed, right? And so it's like you can't necessarily heal and work through something if you don't know that it's there, but also if you're not tested, right? So it's like, even if it's something that you're trying to heal and you're still reacting, or you're still being triggered and you think that you should be over it, it's basically just helping you to see, like, yeah, you're doing it, you're working toward it, but your work is not done, right? So it's just kind of like step by step. And if you're not tested in that way, then you'll never know. You'll never know if you've successfully kind of worked through it. And it's also normal to have those triggering things kind of linger for a long period of time, right? And it's like, we're not perfect. We all have darkness and light. It's not reasonable to expect, like, you're not a robot. You're not going to respond perfectly all the time. And that's okay. So it's like, don't set yourself up for failure by having such high expectations of yourself. You're only human. And you're healing. So whatever it is, any way that you might judge yourself, recognize that it's not a flaw in your nature. It's just part of your humanity. Our shadow is still a part of us, and it's just that it may be difficult to be in situations where that shadow is illuminated, right? Okay, so the next message that came through was under the microscope. So there could be a sense of like you being closely watched or evaluated or judged or examined. It could be that somebody is kind of like observing every little thing and like micromanaging you or trying to control you. Like, this could be friends, family, significant other. It could be at work or at school. And it could also be like something that's coming to you externally. It could be something that you're doing to yourself or to others. And I think that it's important to recognize that intense kind of scrutiny, if it doesn't have an intended, if the purpose of it is not intended to help you learn and grow and feel empowered to move forward, then there's no point in it. And it can be a really harsh energy, right? Because the thing is, if you look closely enough and if you're looking for flaws, you will find them. And it doesn't matter who you're looking at. It doesn't matter. You will find them. If you're looking for flaws, you will find them. And they exist, right? We're all imperfect. But like, the whole purpose is, why are you looking for those flaws? Are you looking so that you can be like, wow, this is why I'm not good enough, or this is why this person isn't good enough? It's not finding the flaws or recognizing the flaws. It's like, what are you intending to do with that information? Are you intending to say like, oh, hey, wow, I look at myself with a fine-tooth comb and I found all of these things that I didn't realize that I was doing that might not be serving me. And instead of guilting and shaming and beating yourself up, saying like, if this is something that I don't necessarily want for myself, how do I empower myself to work through it? How do I become more conscious of it, right? So it's like making sure that if you are doing a close examination, that you're looking to help yourself move forward. You're not using it as like ammo to hold yourself or someone else back. And same if that's being kind of introduced upon you, it's recognizing that if there is no intent for you to receive support, or if it's not ultimately in your highest good, that you may have to remove yourself from situations where you're being subjected to that. Because the whole point is not to break you down, right? It shouldn't be. But it should be like looking for the best way to empower and teach and heal. And finally, your last message was Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So I'm sure we're all familiar with the song. It might be worth listening to the song, reading the lyrics, seeing how that resonates for you. I also got the sense that if you're having a tough day, like maybe this month, if any time that things are feeling challenging or you're getting kind of ramped up, maybe that's a song that will be helpful for you to listen to kind of just calm you. And it's kind of the idea of like connecting with joy now, believing in magic, believing in dreams, allowing ourselves to dream and to accept that our dreams can become reality. There's a world of possibility waiting for us to connect with. And sometimes it can be hard to see that or to feel that because we can feel so far removed, particularly if we're experiencing something challenging. But it's like, it's that belief and that willingness to connect with inspiration that allows us to kind of push the limits of what we're able to accomplish and what we can manifest. And it also kind of gives us something to focus on as we're working through challenges, right? So it's not like in terms of escapism, but staying connected to our light and what matters to us, and believing that, you know, that we can move in the direction of our dreams. So just a little connection to inspiration for you. Okay, so we are going to get you, sorry if I'm sighing, I'm just making sure I'm getting enough oxygen. It's not exasperation. So we're going to get you a couple of affirmations, and then we will get you one final oracle message from Wisdom of the Oracle. Okay, here we go. Oh, you guys got a bonus one. I've been doing two, but a third one popped out. So, your first, I'm a vibrational match to all that I desire. So all that you desire has a whole lot to do with your most authentic self. And it could have to do with these very unique, bizarre, strangely beautiful eccentricities or ways that you're being called to kind of change things up. And so it's trusting that it's kind of like what you seek is seeking you, and the direction that you are being guided to move in externally and internally likely has a deep connection to what it is that you desire. So it's like, it's believing that it's out there. It's already a part of you. It's just a matter of you kind of connecting to and embodying your authentic and highest self, and trusting that that is ultimately going to help you draw in these things that you desire almost effortlessly, because it is a part of you. And the more that you show up in your own energy, the more that that is drawn to you, and you don't necessarily have to force it to make it happen. That kind of, it's like law of attraction. Your second affirmation is I can, I will. So it's the sense that, like, don't let anyone tell you that something that's important to you can't be done. Don't let somebody confine you to conventional ways of doing things or shut down your dreams. And also don't allow yourself to do that to yourself, right? So it's like, I can and I will. You've got this new opportunity. You can and will seize it. And even the things that kind of come up as blocks, you can overcome, you can work through. And if you're willing to see what lesson there is to be learned, and what skill and wisdom is coming to you as a result of those experiences, you can alchemize, you know, your life. You can take that stuff that's coming into you, and you can transform it into something that works for you in that authentic expression of yourself and your gifts. And then finally we have I am in harmony with nature. And so I think that's really beautiful, because it's just like this, it goes hand in hand with, like, you were created by the same divine essence that created all of the beautiful and strange things on this planet without discrimination. And you've not only been created by that, but you've also been blessed with the power of creation, which is absolutely beautiful and unique to you. So yeah, allowing yourself to accept your true nature, to connect with nature, to be one with nature, that will likely be helpful in whatever healing needs to be done, but also just coming into acceptance of who you are and what you have to offer, whether or not you've ever stepped into that kind of energy before, or it's just like something shocking and new that is asking to be created. It's like nobody gets to tell you what your divine essence is and how it's meant to be used. Okay. Oh, I love this. Your final oracle message for this month is higher power. Okay, so I'm going to read this directly from the guidebook. This will be your last little piece of advice to help you move through the month. So the essential meanings are conscious contact with a higher power, the presence of the divine, seeing source energy in all things, committing to a partnership with spirit. And I think this kind of goes hand in hand with this support and this love and this energy that's available to you beyond the physical, right? That You're kind of being asked to accept that that's a thing, and to not only be willing to connect with it, but to receive the support that is being offered, that is available to you. Because I read something that it's like we can accept when we have a purpose or our role, and we feel good about ourselves when we're able to contribute and fulfill our purpose. And it's recognizing that these energies, these guides, these spirits, whatever you want, however you want to think about it, it has a purpose, and its purpose is to help us and to help inspire us and to move us along our path and to provide us with love and support and encouragement. So accepting what is offered to us energetically is our way of also allowing them to fulfill their purpose, right? So it's kind of like, you can't limit yourself by saying like, oh, I don't deserve it or whatever. It's like, it's an exchange, right? So it's just like you want to be able to impact others and to share your purpose and your light. The support that's available to you is coming to you in the same manner, and allowing that to be received is allowing them to fulfill their purpose, right? Even if they're not in a tangible physical body, right? So the Oracle's message. This card reminds you that you are more than a person trying to get ahead and make things happen for yourself and others, right? So that can be this. That can be like this Pentacles energy. You have an immortal soul and are gifted with a human life through which a higher power can express itself. At this time, you need to be conscious of your connection to spirit and foster it through prayer and meditation. Ask, what is the highest good for all? How can I serve? Then get out of your own way and trust there is a plan for your life more wondrous than you can ever know. You are always protected and divinely directed. Relationship. It's time to address how much effort you give to your relationship with your higher power, called God, Goddess, Spirit, or any other name that is sacred and holy. Recognize that your partnership with Spirit is your number one priority. The appearance of this card also indicates that there is a deep spiritual bond between you and another person who is essential to your growth and evolution. Tend to your spiritual connections and remain aware of your true nature. I actually really love that. It's like prioritizing your relationship to Spirit, because it's like that's kind of going to be your main support, because what you're trying to do or the direction you're being called to go in is not necessarily something. There may be a few people physically, tangibly that can help you, but it's very much going to be a reflection of your relationship to and connection to this divine energy and your own divine essence. Prosperity message. Sometimes work just flows through you, ideas come rushing in, and inspiration bubbles up from a wellspring you didn't even know you could access. When you enter agreements, begin projects, and negotiate deals with Spirit as your partner, you will always succeed. Let your higher power lead. The synchronicities and intuitive nudges you feel will help you see which way you are being pointed, giving you confidence to move forward in the right direction. Don't forget to give credit where it is due. You wouldn't be a success without Spirit's guidance. Humility will serve you well when this symbol appears. And then protection. Now is the time to examine what you are giving energy and attention to in the back of your mind. So, like this. If you are obsessing about being right, or old resentments, or failed expectations, about money, or about any other people, places, or things, these will be the source from which you create. But you want Spirit to be your source. Take heart, for your higher power will never desert you and is always waiting for you to remember the sacred partnership you share. Turn away from other sources of power that don't serve your highest good. There is no greater source than Spirit. You can always surrender your troubles and trust that they will be taken care of. You are in good hands. So I think that's interesting, because that kind of goes hand in hand. Like, if you're going to put the effort in to create this life, why not have it be one that is unique to you, that meets your needs and is reflective of who you are and what's most important to you? And like, who better to partner with in connecting to and expressing that and moving forward with that than Spirit, because it's not necessarily something that another person or anything external to you in the external world or in terms of convention can necessarily validate, right? So I think that's a really wonderful note to end things on, Pisces. This is a wild reading. I'm feeling very happy for you guys, very hopeful for you all. I hope you enjoyed. If you did enjoy this reading, the best way to support me is to like this video on YouTube, leave me a comment to let me know how it resonated. Beyond that, if there's anyone you could think of that might be interested in or might benefit from my readings, you can feel free to share my channel or my content with them. And if you haven't already, make sure you pop over to my channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot and ensure you're not only subscribed to the channel, but also signed up for notifications. That's the little bell icon that will keep you up to date on new readings as they're posted. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure reading for you guys. Thank you so much for coming here and sharing this time and space with me. I am wishing you all the very best for September. I hope it's a beautiful month for you. And until we meet again next month, in next month's reading, yeah, I'm wishing you all the best.